Yes,
absolutely,
sir.
absolutely love when technology works, Tim. It worked. I was worried there that we were going to start the show and all three of us would be staring at the screen waiting for the intro to start, but they got it figured out. This is why it's good to have smart people, Tim, around you.
Lots of nerds. Surround yourself with nerds, and then if the zombies attack, surround your house with treadmills.
No. If the zombies attack, you keep the nerds because you use the nerds for bait. You use them for bait.
Right. Well, that's right. Right. But if you surround your house with treadmills, you buy yourself some extra time.
Yeah, that is true. That is true. Oh, by the way, welcome everyone to the Wednesday night live show. We're back. It's Wednesday. It is 4 p.m. and that means our show starts. And today we have Tim and the lovely Michelle joining us. Phillip cannot join us tonight, but maybe next week he'll be back on with us. Tim shakes his head, but he will be back with us. We got a few things that we're going to talk about. Something local for me in the state of California. I knew this was coming, and I was just wondering if it was going to actually come through or not. But it looks like it's going to be implemented sometime in 2025. So kind of a bummer. SOVAPE is in there, a vape company. It's actually, I'm not sure. I try to do a little digging. Is it? I think it's a little bit of a advocacy group, a vape company, kind of a couple of things that are involved. Well, they're shutting their doors in France, and I actually did a little research. They've been around a long time, Tim. This company, quite a bit.
Yeah, I in the meanwhile time, I pulled up an article regarding the shutdown, so we can get into some details about who exactly they are.
Yeah. Kind of a shocker. And I thought we would ourselves talk about anything that's going on locally, and everyone in chat too. If you have something that's maybe that CASA hasn't posted yet that you have going on in your town, your city, your state, and may not be on there, we'd love to hear from you. Put it in the chat. I think we're going to start doing that from now on every week, is just try to find something local that may not be on the actual, because CASA can't get everything. CASA depends on you guys. So if you guys don't get that information or let CASA know what's going on in your town, they're not going to be able to post those links. Hello, Mr. Nick Orlando. So it's important that I think we're going to start doing that and talk a little bit about our local stuff, our stuff, Michelle's Florida stuff, Tim's Georgia stuff. When Phillip is here, Alabama, and myself here in California. So I thought it'd be interesting, good little thing for us to do and just touch on some local stuff. We always do the big picture stuff, but I think we forget about ourselves. And I think, what's going on in California is just absolutely maddening. And shit, I might have to, take a trip into Nevada once a month, just drive over there, go gamble a little bit, buy some vape, and come back. I won't. At the border of California and Nevada, they're gonna seize my vape, my e-liquid, Tim? Are they gonna open my trunk up and say, you got fruit in here?
I think they need to jack you up against the wall, cuff you up, haul you off, put you in the paddy wagon, publicly shame you.
Put my face up on the border wall.
Have you write a paragraph why you vape in less than 300 words or less, or go to the chalkboard. Go to the chalkboard and just say, I will not vape. I will not vape. I will not vape. I will not vape.
It'll be, I will not vape fruity flavors. I will not vape fruity flavors.
You know what? I gotta usurp the chat announcements. There's somebody just joined the chat. Well, Nick Orlando, you're awesome as it is.
Nick
But
Orlando.
I have not seen.
Yes, I was waiting for you to see
The
it.
land of the lost world of JJ. That feels so good to say. I hadn't said that in a long time.
Yeah.
Sorry, my the excitement overcame me.
Yeah. I was thrilled. I was thrilled, man. Yeah, so yeah, we're gonna start doing that, and I don't think it's gonna get like that in the border, but it would be funny because they always ask you, "Do you have any fruit?" And I'm gonna have to say, "Yeah, I got fruit flavored vapes." Get out! Get out! Move! Get out of the car!
Get in the car!
I can pull that sovereign thing. I am a sovereign citizen. You cannot. I will, and pull one of those. I've been watching so many of those videos. Maybe I could pull that off, man.
Yep. It doesn't work very well, does it?
No, it doesn't. You know what's funny, tell Michelle? It doesn't work very well in Florida. I've seen so many videos in Florida. The quickest arrest ever of a solvent the person is all of them are in Florida. Like the Florida cops are like, dude, no, just get your ass out of the car. I'm arresting you.
No, they don't go for that. There's too much damage down here from other hurricanes and things, and people are trying to pull that, and they decided, that doesn't work.
No. You need a driver's license. You need insurance. God dang it. So,
and if we ask you for it, you got to have it,
Right. Hey, there's always a bus leaving Florida, right?
Yeah. No telling where it's going, though.
Yeah. I was going to start with Tim, but, we'll save him for last because I'm sure he did something exciting this week. I'm sure.
Maybe.
So,
no, I saw your Facebook
I didn't
post.
do anything, right?
Yeah, you did. Yeah, I'm telling you, dude. Dude, I'm sorry to call you dude, but I'm telling you, this weekend, we were joking earlier before the show started, but I'm willing to bet, hey, Birdman, all the way from Australia, or New Zealand. Oh, I'm sorry if it's one of those two. But we were joking about Tim's lavish lifestyle. We were kidding that last weekend he probably ran into Mike Tyson, partied with him at his house, pissed in his pool. Ran into Stevie Ray Vaughan out there, and I mean that's
I run into dead guys all the time.
Dead guys all the time. There's always a Stevie Ray Vaughan guy just running around an Elvis impersonator. So yeah, so we're gonna let Michelle start because Michelle, she's smiling. She had something exciting this week.
Not really, but I'll tell you a funny story.
Yeah, there we go.
Since we're talking about funny things that all these people that Tim knows,
Tim knows. Tim knows.
I used to be a delivery for a hotel at night by myself for food. And I had several people that came through. I mean, there was a lot of people that came through, but one of them happened to be Al Gore. Y'all know who Al Gore was, right?
Yeah. He invented the internet.
I never liked it because you had to go through security checks and all this kind of stuff, and I never had an issue, so I always had to work and Al Gore orders, and I said, okay. And he actually ordered, which was kind of unusual. Usually they have somebody like that has an assistant or something that orders. But he actually ordered, and I said, well, are they going to let me down your hall, or do I need to give it to the guy that's right there at the elevator? Because that happens sometimes too.
Yeah.
And he said, no, they'll let you through. I'll make sure. And I said, okay. So I knock on his door, and he comes to the door, nothing but a towel.
Oh,
don't you know? You got a guy coming, and it's a hotel, and you're running for president, you're vice president, and it was that time when he was doing all that. But anyway, he has a girl come to the door with him, or she shows up, and she's completely dressed in her suit and all, but I'm thinking, this is weird, This is weird.
I can see Al Gore going, I invented the internet.
and all he had on was his little, waist towel.
Oh my goodness.
It was like, that was so odd to me. So anyway, thought I'd share that with you guys since, we're talking about famous
that
people.
is weird,
Get that image out of my head now. Thanks, Michelle.
Yeah.
Hey, I've lived with it for 20 years.
Yeah, she did that. Dude, that's
and I didn't want it.
That's mirror fucking news right there. That's like what is that, TMZ stuff right there.
Yeah. If I would have had a camera, I would have got him, but I didn't back then. So
yeah. Al Gore. No, that's cool.
Naked Al Gore.
Naked Al Gore. Yeah. Woo. Damn. Thanks for the visual.
He invented the internet, don't you know?
He did a lot of things.
Yeah, he saved climate. He started climate control.
I still have a bone to pick with his wife, though. Old Tipper.
Yes, we do.
Yeah, no, her and her PMRC crap.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, you know what? Actually, she did everybody a favor. She just made shit more popular by doing that.
Right? Yeah, she put it out out front.
We really should be thanking her, even though she did put us through hell. But anyway.
You think about it. If at that time when that happened, if she wouldn't have done that, and if MTV wouldn't have had all that stuff promoting what was going on, do you think that like the rest of the music world would have just not paid attention to any of that and then gone, oh shit, what happened? Now, you know what I mean? Because MTV plugged the shit out of it. They let everybody know what was going on.
Well, I think because you have to look at it from the aspect that, music is art and its expression. And you had these fools walking around with their sort of higher religious moral high ground, trying to make claims that, this type of communication or language was negatively influencing people and it was in some cases pornographic. Now, not taking away from the fact that there was some stuff that was out there. They seemed to target the rock community the most.
Yeah.
Before kind of like the rap stuff, was really more. The lyrics were a little bit more egregious, I guess you could say. Anyway, point being is it just felt like we were being attacked, and really the honest truth is like. No one was running around, doing anything dramatic and drastic and stuff. I mean, remember when Judas Priest got sued by a family because the kid was apparently listening to a Judas Priest album when he committed suicide and just all this crazy stuff. So it just sort of felt like, they were attacking the rock and roll community disproportionately at that time.
Yeah. Well, let me tell you my week. I had a pretty good damn week, man. I'm trying to get the studio done. It's next week should be completely done. The walls will be done. I'll have the walls painted. Everything should be done. Funny story. And this is why it's great to have great friends that are looking out for you. Tim's done this too for me. This is, Tim has done this, but I went to bed yesterday to go to work. I went to bed at 2:00. I have 3 alarms set, 7:30. 7:35 and 7:45. I slept through all 3 alarms. Bob Sharp, love you, Bob. You're the man. Bob, like Tim, calls me. I didn't answer. Tim doesn't have my aunt's number, but I think if Tim had my aunt's number, he would have called my aunt too.
Yeah, I would have.
He would have. He calls my aunt. My poor aunt's sleeping because I worked late last night. She comes and knocks on the door, opens the door, and my nephew opens his, "What's up, Aunt Carol?" He's like, "John, they're looking for John for work." And I can hear this knock. My aunt has this real, very low voice, and I hear a knock on my bedroom door. "Hey, John, are you going to go to work today? Bob's calling." I'm like, "Oh, shit." I slept through all those alarms last night, and I got to work. I went to work though, so I shut up. I didn't go, well, screw it. I'm not going to go. I'm an hour late. But yeah, it was, I got to figure out a different alarm situation. So I put the Amazon portal in there and I turned that thing all the way up to 10 and that thing just screams. So, and I can just look over and go, "Hey," I don't want to say her name, "Alexa," and then she'll make sure I get up and go to work. And the funny thing about it all is the day before, or actually December 6th was my year anniversary, and I was for that whole day I was plugging how I was employee of the year, never late for work, never miss work. And then what happens on the 8th? I come in an hour and a half late, but yeah, it was pretty crazy. That beat that story. Oh man.
What a crazy life you live, John.
What a crazy life.
You're just out of control.
I'm gonna go do this because he's so special. We're gonna do this. Watch this.
Put him up first.
No. He
No.
knows what's gonna happen.
I
Go
mean,
ahead.
so I hate to be the bearer of bad news.
Uh-oh.
And it's really not bad news. I think the only bad news element to it all is that like nothing really all that exciting happened to me since last. Well, a lot was going on. I mean, I had a friend who had surgery, and he needed help, and I just had a whole bunch of stuff going on. But the good news is we bought new harnesses for the dogs. That was just sort of groundbreaking in and of itself. Got them a little bit better harnesses than the ones that we had before. So if you guys find that news exciting,
that is exciting though.
Yeah. And then the only real thing that stands to be talked about is the fact that I'm leaving tomorrow. There's the wiener. The only thing
rephrase that, Timmy. Please rephrase that.
That's right over your face, man.
For those that listen to the podcast and don't see the show, you need to rephrase that. There's the little wiener.
I have a tank top with a similar graphic on the front of the tank top, and it says, "I'd rather be playing with my wiener."
Yeah.
But at any rate, so the only thing that stands to be reckoned with is tomorrow morning we are headed off for a 3-day vacation in the beautiful sunny panhandle of Florida in Destin, Florida. Now, some of you might be thinking, Tim, what the F is wrong with you? Why would you go running towards a hurricane? Well, I get the solace there is that the hurricane is not going to affect the Destin area. And so we didn't book this vacation for spite or anything like that. It's actually had been planned for months. So we were a little nervous when we heard about Milton rolling through. We weren't really sure. And not to mention, we just got done with Helene. And don't you find that ironic that my wife moves here? Well, she's my wife now, but when she moved here, her first hurricane experience, she's not like in Brazil, they don't have hurricanes. They don't have tornadoes. They don't have tsunamis. They don't have forest fires. They don't have any of that.
No, they just have beautiful people, beautiful sunshine, beautiful beaches. That's all.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's a horrible life. And really good Brazilian steakhouses. But don't you find it highly ironic that for her first hurricane experience, which was the one that was supposed to hit us, if everybody remembers, Atlanta was in the crosshairs and then it shifted east after it made landfall and it missed us. It was named Hurricane Helene. And my wife's name is Elena, Helena, not with like the difference of one letter. Like I was like, God, could you imagine like what that would have been like if it was actually named Hurricane Helena? Maybe I should have just, gotten the heck out of Dodge. I've been like, that's a premonition. That's foreshadowing. Something is wrong here. Something is seriously wrong. I need to get out of here.
My ex-wife's name is ready. My ex-wife's name is Katrina, and she had to live with that after. Yeah, it wasn't good for her.
Live with that shit on your conscience. That I would have filed a civil suit against the people who name her. I would have.
What is it?
But at any rate, so needless to say, we're 2 hurricanes in, and my heart and my best, all my best wishes go out to the people that are about to be affected by Milton here. So I'm not trying to take it lightly. Certainly thinking about all of those people and hope that they all are safe when this is said and done. But 2 hurricanes in and
back to back,
knock on wood, not directly affected us in any way, shape, or form. So I just hope that it's a nice, relaxing few days. I have a feeling though, Destin's going to be overrun with people who evacuated from the area.
It's a good thing you have a room, because I was out earlier where I'm at, and the traffic was horrendous. Yeah.
Well, I imagine it'll be like that when we get there. It'll probably be overrun with people. There's you probably can't get a room anywhere. I'm thinking
and
a lot of people probably
going to be everywhere.
Oh, absolutely. And so the plan is to get to the condo, park the truck. We're about a block and a half away from the beach. We're right there close to downtown Destin. So most of what we need to do, I'm sure we can get around pretty easily. But I got a feeling there are going to be a lot of people, and probably gas is going to be a little bit difficult to come by, and other resources. So at any rate, looking forward to I need a break, dude.
It's easy walking around there, so there's plenty of things. If I know where you're going, in that area, it's pretty easy walk.
Yeah, well, yeah, and worst comes to worst, I mean, we can always, I'm sure we can probably find a exactly. That would be the real way to get down there, but I don't know that going down the coast or the East Coast would be too wise. I'd probably be like Gilligan's Island. The next time you see me, I'll be streaming from a deserted island somewhere with a couple coconuts that make up a
radio somehow, some way.
I'll just have a coconut right here, just talking into a coconut, and then with the other hand, I'll have like a hand crank generator generating the power to go ahead and power the laptop in order so I can get online. Hope they have Starlink on a deserted island. That's all.
Well, now that you brought that up, I got to ask, which character are you
on Gilligan's Island? Well, some might have seen me plenty of times on the show, and they go, "You know what, Tim? You're a dead ringer for Gilligan, just because I'm a bit of a goof." But if I had to pick one, I would say I'm probably the professor.
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah, he's the professor. He is the professor. Yep. I want to be Gilligan because he had no responsibilities. He just fucked things up, and it was just that's me, man. That's 100% me, man.
You're not lying. No, I'm joking.
I'm not. I'm coming right there. Tim, you know what time it is, and music.
I want to say hello to some people. I already had to say goodbye to the wonderful Nick Orlando.
Yeah. And just like
rolled out on us, and I'm going to do it twice tonight. We're going to have a reprieve. So we're not. I'm just going to go right into it. I'm just, I'm not going to. I don't need music. I don't need a lead in. I don't need anything fancy. All I need to do, John. You know what I need to do, John?
I don't just do that.
I need to go. Hey, everybody, and welcome to this week's edition of the Wednesday Night Live Show. All you boppers out there, watch out for the Warriors. They're coming through Coney Island. We got. If anybody saw the movie The Warriors, which is a cult classic, John.
Yeah, it is. I know.
If you haven't watched it, and for anybody who's in the chat right now, I encourage you to go watch the movie The Warriors. It's one of the best movies of that time period. Just because everybody wants to go find some Schlitz bottles. Remember the beer Schlitz? And put the 3 bottles on your fingers and just sit in your car outside of like your worst enemy's house and just be like, Warriors, come out to play. You got to do it. You got to do it. I remember, I was too young to see the movie when it first came. I know I'm getting off track here. I was too young to see the movie, but my cousin told me about it. And she told me about that scene, and I was so intrigued. I couldn't wait to finally see that movie. Anyway, so let's say hi to the wonderful people in chat. We will disregard the first 4 comments of the show because that came from the people who are hosting this evening, and they're irrelevant in the grander scheme of messaging. So we said hello to Nick Orlando down in the wonderful state of Florida as well, fighting for vaping. He had to go. So hi, Nick. Bye, Nick. It was good seeing you, buddy. We'll see you next time. And then fresh back to the show after a long hiatus. Here he is, the land of the lost world of JJ is back in the house. Good to see you, JJ. How are you, brother? It's always great to have you back. You know what? We're like a soap opera, right, John? Right, Michelle? We're like a soap opera. Right. You could abandon this show for 3.5 months and come back, and then you just pick right back up where you left off. We're like old family, except we don't come with all the drama that soap operas come with. Like nobody's sleeping around with each other. Nobody's trying to screw each other and shoot each other in the back and mess with their life. And, nobody's trying to run for a political office or anything like that. So there you go. Warriors, come out to play. Yeah. Schlitz bottles. Yes. I'll tell you a story about going to Lums when I was a kid, and the Asian waitress we used to always get, because she couldn't say Schlitz. She said, Schlick. She's like, my dad would always ask, like, I'm like, Dad, why are you asking again? You know every beer that they have in this place. And he'd be like, well, what? My dad would be like, I like a beer. And she'd be, okay. And then my dad would go, well, what kind of beers do you have? And I think he did it just to get her to say this. And she would say, we have Michelob, we have Budweiser, and we have Schlick. 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 SCHLIK, Schlick. So my dad would always get a Schlick beer. Anyway, good to see you, Lost World of JJ. And we got tased at the border, Steve Todnam. I know he's talking about when you were talking about getting in trouble for vaping. Steve did not really get tased at the border. Although Steve, if you want, I would be more than happy to take a houseboat to Florida with you, sir. So let's plan that. Let's get that on the books. Who else we got in here? We got Birdman69 in the house, all the way from wonderful, not the land down under, but the land that could be kind of down under because it's down under in that part of the world. But the Kiwi Birdman69 in the Hezoid. What's going on? Who else we got in here? I know I saw some other names in here. We got Ronnie Red in the house. Ronnie Red, you ever heard of Robin Red? You ever heard of Robin Red? I don't know what kind of music you listen to, but check out a band from Sweden called Degreed. 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 And the singer of that band, his name is Robin Red. So you might have a relative in Sweden. You might have a Scandinavian brother.
That's what we do on this show, man. We bring families back together, man.
Exactly. Hold on. I know we got somebody else in here. Oh wait, we got Sherman Yoder in the house. Sherman Yoder is in the house. I saw somebody's trying to bring back Vines. You remember Vines? You remember those? It was like the social media app, kind of like Snapchat, but they called it Vines. They were like, what, 5-10 second videos or something like that, and people would string them together. And it was kind of funny. One of the Vines was, there was the same guy playing both characters. He runs in the door and he goes, we got you a Toyota, man. We got you a Toyota. And the guy jumps up and he goes, you got me a car? And he goes, yeah. And I know it's Yoder, not Yoda. It made me think of the story. Anyway, so the guy runs out the front door into the parking lot and there's a toy Yoda a Yoda doll sitting in the middle of the parking lot. Got him. All right. Anyway, who else we got? I had to wait. I'm 56. My eyes are bad. I had to focus on that one.
Needs to be on some AAHAD medicine, dude.
No, it's okay. There's some acronym stuff going on, and I guarantee it's not a street, even though it ends in RD. We got Spectre NSRD in the house. Good to see you, Spectre. Has anyone tried the 50 bar vanilla custard donut butter? No, but that sounds absolutely wonderful. Yeah, I might have to jump on that boat and try that one out. That actually sounds really good. I was never really a big custard fan. I really tried because I love custard filled donuts.
Did you really try? Did you really?
I really tried. And this might be the winner. This might be the one that takes it home. Okay. And we got the wonderful Michael Redfern in the house. Good to see you, Michael. How are you, brother? And we got the resident pirate, James R. hanging out. Good to see you, James. How are you, brother? And that's it for now. We got a nice little family event going on. So good to see everybody. Welcome back, JJ. Good to see you. And that's it, John. Back to you in the studio, John.
Yes, back here. It is sunny California at Modesto. It is currently 99 degrees with no wind, humidity at 0, but you can cook an egg on your car. So Tim, I put those two in the private chat. You can. Or I can do one if you want. It's up to you.
Well, hold on. Let me see what you got. Okay. I'm waiting for it to load. Right now, it's claiming that it's untitled. So,
California recently passed. There you go. Got it.
Okay, hold on 1 second. Is that the first one you gave me?
Yes, it would be the California AB 3218 and SB 1230. The next.
I think you might need to reshare that link because it's not open.
Try that again. Let me try again. It's a freaking super.
Okay,
long. Okay, that was coming from a Mrs.
Yeah, well, it was
Yeah, it was coming from.
Okay, well, that's no problem. I mean, and if you want, to, we can start with what the subject of the show title is.
Yes, we could
Hey,
start.
Jeffrey, I don't own a bear. Zamora is in the house. Good to see you,
Well, you don't know that.
Jeffrey.
You don't know that.
Still don't own a bear, do you? You're not ready to run off and join the circus, are you?
He's gonna
Them
do a
bears
bear
are
video. He's gonna do a bear
bears.
video.
Them bears are dangerous.
Yeah. We can
So,
start
well,
with
let's
the
talk.
first one. Let's
Let's
start
start
the
with
first one.
SOVAPE, right? Because I mean,
There you
this
go.
is the one
Yeah.
thing that we kind of hate to see
Yeah.
as a residual of the issues that we deal with in the vaping community is that some really good organizations, some fantastic businesses get kind of run out of town.
Get it.
You know, there's all kinds of issues, but this is the one John talked about at the top of the show. Let me make it a little bit bigger. I'm already at 175. I don't know. I read pretty good.
That's good. That's pretty big.
I read pretty good, John.
You
I
read
learned
good?
from them. I learned from them bears out in the woods eating all that porridge.
Let me help you out here.
I learned to read. I learned to read real good. Yes, R.I.P. SOVAPE. That's so true.
You got a pretty mouth.
Yeah,
oh, sorry.
But we should also mention that this is not. This one's a little bit more bigger and more impactful, but here in the U.S., and this was planned for some time, Vapor Chef finally shut their doors. Finished shipping out all of his orders about a week ago, and he shut his doors. So anybody that was a fan of the Vapor Chef growing up, I remember I got the Honey Perry, and there was a couple I got from them. Honey Perry was one of them, and then the other one was something to do with strawberries. He had unicorn poop, didn't he?
Yep.
So he had a unicorn something or other. I remember that. Anyways, shame to see another one of the long time liquid makers finally shut their doors down. They had a little bit of a unique twist to their angle. The mixologist that worked for them, he had a chef's background. That's why he was called the Vapor Chef. And so all of his flavors were succinctly honed around his culinary skills, and that's how he developed a lot of his flavors. So, had a bit of more of a unique angle to it than just, trying to throw flavors together and make something good. So the French consumer vaping organization SOVAPE will cease operations, reports Vaping 360, best known for organizing 3, not 1, not 2, but 3 vape summits in France between 2016 and 2019. SOVAPE also co-founded the European Tobacco Harm Reduction Advocates umbrella organization. So since 2019, the group has commissioned annual surveys of French public opinion on vaping and nicotine conducted by major market research firm BVA. Not sure what BVA stands for. Maybe we'll find out here eventually. However, this year, BVA notified SOVAPE that it could no longer participate due to a health industry client's contract prohibiting BVA from also working with nicotine-associated organizations. During its existence, SOVAPE also faced criticism of connections to the tobacco industry. Of course, because all of us are just the long arm of big tobacco. Everyone knows that. I mean, and we do it in bot form, which is pretty amazing when you think about it.
And we get paid.
And we get paid big bucks.
That's
big,
right.
huge
That's
bucks.
right.
Exactly. Right. I
got a new Ferrari coming.
That's why I budget shop for disposable vapes online, because I get paid so much money.
Right.
Dialogue in this context is impossible, SOVAPE wrote, and clearly it is now even forbidden to provide information such as banal survey on reducing the risk of smoking in France. SOVAPE will donate the balance of its funds equally to the Pasteur Institute and fellow vaping groups Adus and La Vape de Courir. Okay. I feel like I need to say it with an accent, but I just don't have.
You got to stuff French better in your mouth and then say it. Yeah.
Let me try it again. La Vape de Courir. Whatever. All right. Okay. Oui. SOVAPE will keep its website available for 10 years and maintains videos of Vape Summit proceedings on its YouTube channel. We regret that we are no longer able to cultivate a dialogue to promote the risk reduction approach against the main cause of preventable diseases and premature deaths in France, SOVAPE said in its post. Exactly, JJ. Oui, baguette fromage. Oui, baguette fromage. We do not regret having tried, but must acknowledge that it is no longer possible for us to lead this fight that is dear to us and which has nevertheless contributed to saving lives. So you know, really, ideally, what you're hoping is that organizations like this who have to cease operations and close their doors have made an impact along the way. You know, maybe there's a reason for some revitalization. Maybe they'll make a comeback at some point in time, but it's just sad to see that some of the strongest advocates for our industry, unfortunately, kind of get painted in corners and hams. Yep, they get beaten up too much, and they just kind of have to tip their hat. So, you know, shame to see that happen. So, yeah.
I'm trying to find what the acronym is for that, but it's all in French. You bastards.
BVA.
BVA is a French group. I can't tell you much more, but it's advocacy based.
Yeah.
They have a lot of good scientists that contribute and articles, and I know the German people look up towards it. Maybe a German thing as well. I don't know, but I know that a lot of Germans follow them.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, I mean, just judging by like the main chunk of it, it looks as though they've just been bullied out. I mean, they say due to the current climate of censorship, threats, lies, denigration, and slander, to which can be added the dissemination of fake news and denial scientific data, which ultimately makes, you know, everybody else's job harder because you're trying to, we're trying to pass on, you know, truthful information, and when you just get smothered in slander and stuff, it makes it hard. But you know, they were around since what, 2019, they said?
Yeah.
So no, sorry, 2016 and 20. So they did the 3 summits between 2016 and 2019. So yeah, great organization. Hope there's some future for them somewhere in the midst of it all, but yeah, we'll see what happens.
At least they were able to spread some of those funds that they had throughout to some other advocacy groups and keep the fight going. I mean, that's the only bright side of it. It kind of sucks when your hands get tied like that, where you no longer can say certain things, like we've gone through here with us, where the shops aren't allowed to say it's 99% better than smoking and safer than smoking. We can't help customers. We can't, you know, you can't tell them, can't wrap a coil for them. You can't put cotton in there for them. You can't do any of that stuff. And that makes it harder. And this is just making it harder for advocacy to be able to promote the things that they know, you know, and through their own scientists. So it's a bummer. It's a bummer. I didn't think France. I didn't think France had any issues with vaping out there. I don't remember ever seeing them in the news. You know.
No, it's been pretty quiet on the French front, but I mean, obviously, you know, clearly they've found pretty strong opposition enough to, you know, well, not to mention they kind of put that their biggest ally in the whole thing basically had to separate themselves from them just due to the fact that they were kind of controlled, and they said they could no longer stand shoulder to shoulder with them. I don't think it was because SOVAPE did anything wrong. It looks like they were the BVA was effectively regulated, right?
Yeah, well, it sounded too like in the article they talked about that they said that they felt that, or they accused them of being funded by a tobacco company in the article, and I call bullshit on that too as well. I'm sure an advocacy group that's been around that long and has been running Vape summits is not getting paid by big tobacco. But I think there's a bigger picture in this all is Bloomberg money being spent in the UK And I think without us really knowing, they're not sharing that information. But I'm willing to bet that some of the Bloomberg money that he felt wasn't doing the job here, he's going after the UK and he's spreading it out over there. And because it's just too weird that all of a sudden all these European countries are starting to have issues with vaping, and it's just
you have to
out.
remember, the WHO is a big deal over there too, and their whole thing is disposables and vape in general. But they're starting off with the disposables and saying that it's bad for the earth, you know, and all this kind of stuff. So it's a lot of strain on those advocacy groups over there, because here we are trying to say, but it helps older people. There's a reason for it, and you know, the WHO's not having it. They don't want it, and if you're part of it, of the WHO, then you have to pretty much do what they want, you know.
Yep. Well, Canadian Vapor. I am actually, I think next week I'm going to try to put something together with some Canadian vapors and some Canadian advocates, because I want to get that. We're going to start moving the show around because we're kind of in a standstill, to be honest. There are a few little towns fighting bills and stuff like that, but I feel like we need to start looking around too locally. I talked about doing some local stuff, and then once a week pick a country that we're going to try to bring to the show and bring some advocates from that country, and some reporters if we can. I want to start with Canada because they're our neighbors.
Exactly. Yeah, I hung out there. A party with some Canucks up there up north. Back in the day, way back in the day. Well, I've been there. I've been there since.
And
but like
Tim's a big hockey fan too.
I'm a huge hockey fan.
He's a huge hockey.
Yep. But I mean, the hockey guy, they're the OGs though. You know what I mean? The Canadians, they're the OGs. You know, they all got rinks in their front yards. You know what I mean? They won't go to work until they actually have a cup of coffee, and they go ahead and out there and they knock off a few slap shots before they get in the car and head off to work. And wanted to also say somebody else stopped in on us. We got Anthony, not Ponch Estrada, in the house. Good to see you, Anthony. How are you? Good to see you, and always great to see you, Canadian Vape. Welcome back to the show. We should talk to some people from some other areas that are.
It's a little more difficult when we start going towards the UK and Australia, but we'll work sometimes because it is late. Well, it's 4 here. For me,
depends on where in Canada they live, though, John.
Canada's
on the West Coast.
I'm talking about the UK. When we start going,
they're about they're 6 hours ahead or something like that.
6 for you, 9 for me. I live in better.
Well,
8 hours for you.
Yeah. That's all right.
Germany would be 9 hours for you.
Yeah.
Tell them to take a nap in the middle of the day like you have to before you go to work. They'll be good.
They're at this time of the year, most of them are on vacation anyway.
Yeah, so. Get them a nice pint. You know, Uber them a pint. And
I'll just go to Amazon UK and just order them a case of Red Bull the night before the show.
There you go.
I know. Yeah, we want to branch out the show because there's a lot going on, and we are kind of in a standstill, just waiting to see when the Supreme Court's actually going to look at this and take a look at it and make a judgment. That'll be, several months down the road. So I felt like maybe we should start looking into other places and some of our other brothers and sisters that are out there. So Canada will be first. I would like to get Janine on the show with us. So I'll send her a message just to have at least 1 or 2 vapors and some I don't know how it works as far as maybe Janine. I'll DM Janine and see if she can get a reporter or somebody that's reporting on vaping there in Canada to be on the show with us. And basically we'll have both sources. We'll have an actual advocate and someone who's writing. So I think it'll be a good idea. Timmy, you ready to battle California?
Yes. Well, was that the long link? You need to send it again because it's not open.
Okay, I'll send you again too, bro.
Yeah, I can't talk about it if I can't read it, John.
All right, let me try again, man. I think it ran out of.
There's a catch-22 to the whole thing. You want Timmy to read shit, I got to be able to get to the page.
Okay, let's try it again. Here we go. Just try that.
Right.
I mean, that's the one I got. I see where I think I need to break it, and we'll try that.
Usually it's at the question mark if you're going to do it at all.
Yeah,
I'm still not able.
Try that.
Like, okay, hold on. Holy crap! I'm getting lost. I'm getting lost. I'm getting lost in the link.
That worked. That worked for me.
Right, hold on. Hold your horses. Oh wow, it did work. Look at that. And funny enough, it was a much shorter link than the other ones.
Much shorter.
How did that work out?
I don't know, man. Hey, smarter people, man. Smarter people out there.
All right, this looks like it's going to be a lot of heavy reading here. So you kids put on your reading caps right here. There's going to be a lot of big words. A lot of people will be able to monetize their Scrabble careers after this article. So
you know how we like to write shit out here in California.
Yeah, exactly. Like if you ever wanted to compete in a spelling bee, now would be the time to take notes. So this is from the Public Health Law Center, AB 3218 and SB 1230. The next step in California's flavor law. I didn't the whole entire state of California just already get to vote on this crap? Does it need to go
failed, and then they put it back through, and now this bill is to fix all the loopholes that they didn't have in the second bill that came through. So this basically is filling the holes. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. That's why we should just come up with our own vape language. Do you know what I mean? Like come up with like a purebred code system that we can speak in so that these knuckleheads can't derive any information from us. So they can't do this kind of stuff.
Well, let's go back a little bit. When that first bill passed, when they put it up to vote, it failed. Then they figured out they rewrote it, and it got passed. It went through, and then they had you could still order online. And what they realized that, oh shit, we're not getting any tax money from this. So they threw in the tax thing. So that's why, and most of you know that live in California, in the very beginning when that law did pass, we didn't have that extra tax. We didn't have that excess tax or whatever they call tax, nicotine tax. So basically it was like, oh, no big deal, no loss. You're still paying the same price. You're still getting your liquid into California. Unfortunately, you weren't able to go into a vape shop and buy it any longer, but you were able to order it online. California realized, hey, we're losing a shit ton of money on taxes because now we have product coming from other states that were actually getting the tax money that they should have gotten. So then that's when you saw them change it and revise it to where all of a sudden when you could put your shit in the cart, all of a sudden there was a 4 or 5, I think it's 6 or 7% tax on your bottle of e-liquid, depending on, I loved California. This is how smart they are. I mean, you're right, Tim, but they realized, oh, wait a minute. We can tax it differently according to what strength it is, what bottle size it is. And, so they all of a sudden we started seeing an extra $11 to $14. And now that bottle that was affordable became very expensive. So, and now this is going to, we'll let you finish reading it.
Okay. All right. So, yep. So we'll try to get through this the best that we can. So California recently passed 2 new laws this session, Assembly Bill 3218 and Senate Bill 1230. Together, these laws close loopholes in SB 793, California's flavor law prohibiting the retail sale of most flavored tobacco products, and are aimed at strengthening and streamlining enforcement against prohibited flavored tobacco product sales. The changes will go into effect on January 1st, 2025, which is not that far away, and should be fully implemented no later than the end of the year, 2025. Below are some of the highlights, so just get away with as much mischief as you can in about a year's time. So here we go. Rubber meets the road. Creates an unflavored tobacco list, a UTL, they call it, that is administered by the state attorney general. The UTL will make your dachshund bark, as well as
you don't like that word.
Per the name, contain only tobacco products that lack characterizing flavors, and any product that is not on the UTL will be the prohibited flavored tobacco product for purposes of California's flavored tobacco product sales.
Timmy's having issues, I think.
Okay.
Timmy froze, people.
Yeah,
any product that is not on the UTL will be deemed a prohibited flavored tobacco product for purposes of California flavored tobacco product sales and restrictions. To get a product on the UTL, manufacturers and imports must clarify to the Attorney General's office under penalty of perjury that their products are unflavored. So you're going to get something into California, it is going to have to be on that UTL. It's going to have to be approved by the Attorney General, and it's going to have to be an unflavored product. So this is the loophole. They were the last straw for California, basically, and just saying we don't want it at all in here. And it's just to me, they were upset. This is what makes me mad, Michelle. They were upset that they weren't getting the tax money.
Right.
So they changed it so they were getting their tax money, and they're realizing that tax money, I don't want to say isn't enough, because I don't know how much product is actually coming into California, because I'm going to be honest. I mean, everyone that I talk to hasn't had a problem getting flavors here, and I'm not going to disclose any information, but they're not having a problem getting any flavors. So to me, this bill completely really opens up the door for black market nicotine vapes to come through. Now, I mean, if it wasn't before, it makes it worse. Yeah, go ahead, Tim.
Yeah. I mean, you make a very valid point. Like, all of these restrictions just lead to a bigger black market. I mean, if there's demand out there and someone has the means to provide it, and even if it's nefarious in some sense of the word, it's going to go down. You know what I mean? Yeah. You're not going to, I mean, and then you got other problems on your hands. But I was just rereading, UTL will, per the name, contain only tobacco products that lack characterizing flavors. Well, I mean, I don't know that there's that, what are you going to do? Name PGVG juices different names?
Yeah.
I'm going to make one, and I'm just going to call it nothing. It's just going to be called nothing.
Nothing. It's nothing. It's just vapor.
Yep. And then I'm going to come out with the version 2, and it's going to be called absolutely nothing.
Absolutely
nothing. I like it.
Exactly.
Yeah. Oh, Jesus.
At any rate, to get a product on the UTL, manufacturers and importers must certify to the Attorney General's office under penalty of perjury that their products are unflavored. So you got to sign a piece of paper saying that I'm telling the whole truth and nothing but the truth. There's nothing in my nothing.
You ready, Tim?
Yes.
You can handle the truth.
You can. Nothing gets nothing. All right. So there's that one, right? Okay. And then it also permits the Attorney General to prohibit unauthorized electronic cigarettes from appearing on the list.
Yeah.
The Attorney General is allowed to keep products off the UTL if they have not received FDA authorization. Currently, only 34 e-cigarettes have received authorization from the FDA. That means that the thousands of unauthorized e-cigarettes being sold around the nation could be prohibited for sale and distribution in California, whether or not they are flavored. The provision would not be enforced until the list is published. Expands and clarifies restrictions on delivery sales. The changes in the law explicitly prohibit delivery sellers in California, including including anyone who sells products through the internet or via remote delivery from selling tobacco products that are not on the UTL. Just as importantly, it requires all delivery sellers to be licensed under state law and to abide by any state or local tobacco control laws as if the delivery sales occurred entirely within that jurisdiction. So that pretty much shuts down that channel.
Yeah.
Yep.
It also penalizes manufacturers, distributors, wholesalers, and delivery sellers who violate the UTL provisions. If a manufacturer or importer had no reasonable basis to certify that their products lack the characterizing flavor, the Attorney General can seek penalties up to 50 grand. And distributors, wholesalers, and delivery sellers are liable for fines ranging from 2 grand for the first one up to 10,000 for the fifth violation within a 5-year period for each prohibited tobacco product they sell in violation. It increases penalties. They really
they're
through the ringers at this one. Increases the penalties for selling tobacco products to people under 21 years of age. Well, don't you think if you could, if you got rid of all this other BS that they threw in here, don't you think that one right there alone might have an impact on exactly what the crux of the general argument is? Right? I mean, they keep loving they keep loving to ride the coattail of the kids, the epidemic, the whatever, but I mean, if there was some accountability for people breaking the law, and look, kids are kids, they're going to do what they want to do, but they kind of get a pass,
They get a huge pass.
It's like, well, we're not going to blame the kids because it's the product's fault. You know what I mean? Like the product is just, apparently it grows legs, jumps off the shelf, walks out into the street, and jumps right into a kid's hands, and then there you have it, an epidemic. It's like, so they blame the product before they start blaming the person who did something to get their hands on that when they're not supposed to have it in the first place. And I don't want to see kids have to be bludgeoned with fines and stuff like that, but I do think that it could have had an impact across the board if you have T21 law, and then you start, if these kids get caught, and then
hey, community service, Tim. I did so much community service when I got in trouble here in Modesto.
Yeah,
you went to juvenile hall. That was the first thing. We had juvenile hall here, so you go there. You get busted. They take you to juvenile hall. They call your parents. Back then, they could keep you up to a week if they wanted to. They changed that law because it was too expensive to keep the kids. So now the parents get to choose whether to keep them there and pay or bring them home and you discipline them, which is, okay. Right. But I did community service. I cleaned the parks. It's just like, it's free labor, man. You fuck up, there's consequences. There should be some consequences.
Well, I mean, that's what it felt like when I was growing up. I mean, everything, there was consequences for your actions in most cases. And then I would say you take this one step further and you say, okay, because I mean, let's look at the tier setup. So it says currently penalties under the Stake Act range from $400 for the first time you screw up to $6,000 for the fifth violation. Those penalties will increase to $1,000 for a first violation, up to 20 grand. Now, no kid is going to ever be able to pay off a $20,000 judgment. But what I think is you take this one step further, right? And if the kids, I mean, you already have stuff written in here how you're going to find distributors and sellers, wholesalers, delivery seller. You're going to find them. So if they're the provider for the kids, so you got a double whammy there. And then I think what you also do at that point is that you start holding, if they're not getting them through back channel online or however they're getting it on their own accord, if they're being supplied by people within their family network, then you may hold them accountable too. You hit them with the same fines. Say, okay, the kid had it, he wasn't supposed to have it, $400 first time. Mm-hmm. And cousin Bobby, you too, bud. You're the one that gave it to the kid. You missed me getting sucked into a big black hole on the internet, and I disappeared for about 3 minutes. It was
I have only
pretty
one
wild
question
ride.
for Anthony. There's no pineapple on that pizza, correct? And I'm bringing the wine. If there isn't any pineapple, I'm bringing the wine.
I kind of wonder if, they can't have some sort of a master list of, okay, if you're a parent and you choose to let your kid vape over smoking, file something, do something, keep the kid's list, name on a list. And if that kid is caught, maybe different. But if the kid is not on the list, make it public,
Yeah. It,
Um,
I go a little further, because this is what blows me away. Every situation that is out there that teens are involved, everyone chooses a different age for maturity. I can't
Right.
stand that. Pick
Right.
one. If it's 21, then it's 21, all the way across the board. Don't you're telling me in the state of California, I hate to bring politics into this, but you're telling me that a 16-year-old can decide to have transgender reconstruction surgery,
Right.
but he can't choose to buy a friggin' cigarette and a beer. But he's smart enough to make that decision, but he's not smart enough not to vape, not to smoke, or choose to smoke, or choose to drink a beer.
Right.
I just don't understand this.
Right.
This level of intelligence. That these people represent us, and we pick them because we feel that they're going to do the best job for us. And it drives me nuts when I see these different levels of maturity deciding on the crime. And it's just like, well, no, it was written pretty simple. If you're a minor, you're a minor. This is not, oh, well, you're not fully developed until you're 25. So you can't technically make that decision on whether or not to vape or smoke. But you're telling me you can decide to have a complete sex change at 16? It's insane. It drives me nuts, Michelle. And it's just like, make a number, pick it. I don't care what number it is. Just pick one and tell me which one works for all these situations, and not just say, well, this situation, you should be okay at 16. But at this situation, you can't. But you're telling me my 18-year-old son can go into the military and kill people, but he can't have a cigarette because he's 18? Give me a friggin' break. It's just, it's insane.
Well, I mean, the structured laws on the books obviously need a certain a serious rework, but I think that goes even into the level of whether or not, I mean, there was a big push to allow 16-year-olds to become legal to vote and stuff like that. So there's a ton of things that are off kilter a little bit.
Yeah.
I think for me it kind of goes back to the same premise, right? Like if 18-year-olds can go into the military and fight for this country,
right.
I believe by all means, if they're able-bodied enough to make that particular decision and take on such a serious and significant decision, that there should be more leniency at that point in time.
Yes.
But I think you have to look at it in silos a little bit, John. You can't really it's difficult to lump it all together because,
no, Tim, you're either an adult or you're not an adult.
Well, right. And I think for the most part, I think we can all kind of collectively agree that I think 18 seems about the right age, where I think most kids have a handle on at least being maybe some better decision. At 18, you're getting ready to head off to college. I mean, that's the moment you're kind of getting cut loose by your parents, and you have to take on that sole responsibility. I mean, your mom and dad's not going to wake you up to go to class at 8 a.m. for a class that you definitely don't want to go to. Yeah. And maybe some people might have a debate on whether or not college is actually worth it in the end. But I mean, these people are deciding their futures, right? They're making decisions on what they want to do with the rest of their life. Why, if they can make those kinds of decisions, then I think 18 seems like a fair enough range. But point being is that that's really not what we're talking about. What we're talking about here is the fact that, 21 and under, they're going to start holding or under 21, they're going to start holding people accountable at the procurement level. So I think you have to fan that out, and I think you have to be able to at least address it across the board, because they procured it from somewhere. That person needs to be held accountable. Yes. And if someone is giving it to them. Now, I have a lot of empathy here in this particular case, because some parents might be getting it for their kids with good intentions, right? They're not getting it because they're just being lackadaisical. They're like, hey, I don't want my kids smoking. I'm going to offer this to try to get him off of smoking because it's a better alternative for him.
Right.
But it's like going to your buddy's house and you're 15, 16 years old, and his parents, everybody wants to go to their house because the parents let you drink. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Risk comes with everything. So,
Yes,
but I
it does.
do think that if you spread the accountability out across the board, I think it would have a much greater impact from a regulation perspective. And then what you do is then you give vaping back to the adults who this was originally intended for anyway. And we're already at a point where we can make those sound decisions for ourselves and help others in the process.
Maybe
Well,
we're
technically,
yeah.
they say that technically our brains aren't fully developed until we're 25.
Yeah.
So that was thrown out there too. There was even talk about that for a little while, about potentially raising the age just to get cigarettes and stuff up to 25, which that sounds ludicrous. I mean, at 25, there's a lot of people at 25 who have kids already, may even own their own house already.
Yeah.
You know, that, I mean, that's not, that wouldn't be an unusual.
And how many drinks have they had by then?
Yeah.
You know,
I've had plenty of girlfriends call me a child. So, I mean, I'm 56 years old. So
I don't want to grow up. I don't want to go to school. All right. So what else does this bill do?
I just thought I'd throw that in there.
Yeah. Repeals the state provision permitting the sale of tobacco products to military personnel who are at least 18 years of age. So, you know, they're going to hamstring the military. Current state law prohibits the sale of tobacco to anyone who is under 21 years of age unless the person is in the military.
Yep.
So at 18, you can smoke if you're in the military.
Right.
Importantly, despite this exemption in state law, the federal law has set an across-the-board minimum legal sales age of 21 since 2019. So the state level exemption was no longer valid. This law brings state law into conformity with federal law by repealing the provision, eliminating confusion, and making it clear that retailers cannot sell to anyone who is under 21.
That is correct.
Authorizes the seizure of prohibited flavor products. Well, the reason why I also have a problem with the military thing and the vaping and all that good stuff is that a lot of these kids, they go in and then they get deployed, and then they go to these crazy areas where they're subject to seeing things that they thought they'd never see in their entire lifetime. You hear about all these military kids coming home with PTSD and you know, all these other byproducts of being deployed to these particular regions and around the globe. I you know, give them a little happiness. You know what I mean? Like, let them have something that can maybe take them away from that a little bit and try to make the best of that time. Authorizes the seizure of prohibited flavor products. The California Department of Tax and Fee Administration or any other enforcing agency, including local law enforcement, will be authorized to seize prohibited flavor products from retailers and wholesalers and to impose a penalty of $50 per individual package of flavored tobacco products or tobacco product flavor enhancers.
Ooh, that could be costly. So
this is when you'll see more pictures of a bunch of knobs around a table with some disposables on the table, right?
Yeah.
Updates the definition of characterizing flavor to include sensation products. What? Both laws contain provisions updating the definition of characterizing flavor in Health and Safety Code section 0.5 to include products that produce a cooling sense. So the ices and the ices and all that stuff. Which should explicitly capture the new non-menthol sensation products marketed by the industry. Man, you guys suck.
Yeah, they did not mess around. I think they sat down and looked at everything that's gone on in the last year and the loopholes and been paying attention. I want to say that this is probably one of the best bills that they have written in quite some time, where there are absolutely no loopholes in this bill. I mean, there's just going to be, it's flat ass no, not coming into our state. If it's a flavor or if it's not on that list, it's not coming in here. I mean, there's nothing, no loopholes whatsoever in this.
But how did it? Well, so but how if reading all of this and seeing what it was like, the ones that are got MGOs, right? They were effectively allowed to stay out on the market legally. I mean, those are all elements with some characterizing flavor, right? So I mean, you got tobacco, which is a flavor. And then you got the menthol, right? I mean, they allowed a couple menthols in there, I think. So, I mean, how does it work for those particular products? I mean,
yeah, well, you're going to have to go back to what they said. There's only 34 e-cigarettes that have been authorized by the FDA. So out of those 34, those are the ones that are going to be available for millions of people in California. Yeah. And I'm sure Blue is in there. Well, Blue's fighting to get back in there, I think, and so is what do you call it? Come on,
you know what would be really cool is if somebody could come up with a vapeable byproduct that could neutralize the taste of tobacco. And then you could just hear me out on this one. Hear me out on this one. Like it would, like that would sterilize that flavor. So you go and you buy the product that you're allowed to buy, and then you could find a way to put that byproduct in there that would neutralize the tobacco flavor, and then you could add your own flavor into it post-purchase.
Yeah.
Are there any scientists in the chat?
I am on Sunday.
You are on Sundays only?
Well, yeah, I make sauce, so I consider to be a scientist when I make sauce.
Well, work on that. Work on that formula. Whatever keep the menthol. You could just add to the menthol and then get your mentholated flavors. But
my flavor will be called Sunday sauce.
I probably shouldn't have said what I said. Now they're going to take this bill back and they're going to put a clause in the bill that says explicitly prohibits anybody from developing a flavor neutralizing chemical so they can add their own flavors.
I could see a guy running with his pen right now through the fucking halls there in Sacramento. Fucking Tim.
Expands the definition of nicotine. Both laws define nicotine under state law to include synthetically derived nicotine and nicotine analogs, which should encompass products like Meditine and Spree Bar e-cigarettes.
Yeah, well, whoever those are.
Meditine, but what was
the vitamin?
Yeah, that's that vitamin. Yeah.
What about that other thing that we talked about a handful of shows back? That other thing that was kind of hitting the market.
Oh, what was that thing?
I can't remember the name of it right now.
I can't remember what I did yesterday, let alone what we talked about.
That's okay. It'll come back at some point in the game. Preserves local authority. The laws are not preemptive, and local jurisdictions can enact their own flavor policies, provided they are as or more restrictive than state law.
I love that last line right there, just to save face. You can't change it. You can change it, but it's got to be even more restrictive than what we had. So
exactly. So
you cannot breathe.
Is when are they going to do this to liquor and alcohol and everything else?
Everything else.
That's true, James. Yeah, you know what? I may have to put on my smock and get to work here. I should try it. Harley. No, I'm joking.
Harley, get over here.
So in summary, I'll just read the summary here to close out. These laws create a watershed moment in California's fight against the commercial tobacco epidemic. Here they go with the epidemic.
Yep.
The tobacco industry has been furiously working to evade California's flavor restrictions by introducing new products that they argue are not covered by current restrictions. And the laws target importers and delivery sellers, moving flavor restrictions further upstream. AB 3218 and SB 1230 provide some potent new tools to close the loopholes and streamline enforcement, providing new tools in California's fight against dangerous products aimed at youth and frontline communities. The tobacco industry may decide to challenge elements of these laws in court, so the Public Health Law Center will be following developments closely and looks forward to working with its partners to better understand these laws and how they will be implemented.
Screw you, California. Screw you, Gavin Newsom, if you're watching.
Seriously.
There you go. It's just, like I said, I think they've been paying attention the last year. I think they've realized that there were a lot of loopholes. They fixed the first one right away. They realized they were losing a lot of revenue to taxes that were going to other states, and they fixed that. And I think they sat down, locked the door, and said, how can we fuck them better more? And this is exactly filling every single loophole that we had. And it's terrible. I want to bring up another organization real quick that is popping up everywhere lately, and I'm kind of curious, everybody in the chat that lives in the United States, if you have seen this organization. Let me pull this up. That is starting to make its rounds through a couple cities, states. It's Parents Against Smoke Shops. This is the next effort that they're going after smoke shops, and they're going after smoke shops really bad here in Modesto. Do we have a lot of them? Yes, we do have a lot of them. Are they, are some of them shady? I'm sure there are some shady ones in there, but that's up to law enforcement to enforce the laws, go to these shops, bust them, close them down, shut them down. But they're still there. What's funny is they're starting to use the old tactics, Michelle, that vaping used in the early beginning, where they're attracting the youth that come into these shops, and I find it really, really. I'm not going to agree that it's not happening. I'm sure there are some people that are going into that are underage and they're buying stuff at these smoke shops. But I'm sure that a lot of these guys have put a lot of their money into these shops and a lot of money into these businesses, and they're not selling to the youth. Now, whose responsibility is that? Is it that parents' responsibility to make sure that their kids aren't going to these smoke shops? Is it the responsibility of Modesto Police Department to enforce the laws that are already in the books for these shops? And this is what pisses me off. It's always the latter. It's not, let's enforce these regulations. Let's go after these guys. Let's bust them. Let's shut them down. Let's fine them until they can't keep the doors open. No, it's straight to let's shut these fuckers down and just take away these businesses from families that are, this is their livelihood. And they're running a decent place, and they're doing it by the book. They're selling to adults. They're taking care of their shops. They're keeping kids out of there. So this is I don't know if this agency has been popping up elsewhere, but they've hit. I don't know who's funding this, but it's the California Board of Legal Cannabis and Regulations. So it's going to depend on your city where you live in, who's going to be at the efforts into this Parents Against Smoke Shop. But we do have a lot here in Modesto, and I'm sure that some of them are pretty shady, but they have gone after these shops. They have busted some of them, and they have, fined them. They're paying their fines, and now they're talking about closing these places down here in Modesto altogether. Like every single smoke shop, they want to shut every single one of them down. And to me, it's just like, well, wait a minute. Cannabis is legal in California. Where are these people going to go get their cannabis? A state fund place? I mean, it doesn't make any sense to me. I said, you're going to shut all these shops down, but yet you're not going to offer an alternative for the users that already live here in this city to purchase their medical marijuana. And it's just, to me, it just blows me away that they're getting away with this. And I did some digging on the one in Modesto, and their Parents Against Smoke Shops Modesto. And I found out, I did dig, I'm going to say it, that the person that is funding a lot of the anti-vape shop here in Modesto has been a big outside city developer or a real estate developer. And because those properties where those shops are in Modesto is prime real estate. So what better way for a developer to say, hey, yeah, I'll fund this. And I get first bids at these buildings and sites. And for me, when I saw that it was being heavily funded by a outside San Jose real estate developer, I was like, you got to be freaking kidding me. This is ridiculous. Obviously, he has a plan set forth to buy these properties up and then start building other things here and charging more for rent and more for, for whatever. I mean, I'm not a real estate guru, but when I saw that was what was going on, I went to their site and I just hammered them because this is bullshit. It is bullshit. And I'm just tired of the parents against any fucking thing anymore. I can't even stand those two words together anymore. Parents against. It's just like, I'm done. So yeah, I'm just wondering if these have popped up in some of your cities. I know not every city has legalized marijuana. So I'm not sure if they still call them smoke shops, right? Because there's still tobacco in there, right? I think there's still I think you could buy all three things in there. I think you could buy tobacco, cannabis, and vape in there. So just a heads up, if you start seeing these pop up in your city, pay attention to who's funding them. Pay attention to who's forking out the money, to keep these places open, because they're not getting money from regular state funding, because there is no money for state funding for these kind of programs. It's usually coming in from some outside source. So I love they got to show the old. Well, how old is that device? Jesus Christ!
Yeah, they like to pull out all the old ones. I mean, you have to hold these places accountable for selling to people who shouldn't be in there in the first place. And we've got a lot of them here too. I mean, at every turn and every strip mall, there's always a couple of them. I mean, there's some legit, like, just straight up vape shops, but there's a ton of these pop up kind of, smoke shops and stuff like that. There's a lot of them downtown. But I mean, I think
tarts, ropes, bites.
Well, I think in this, like, the THC stuff.
Yeah. That was in Modesto, of course. Modesto PD.
Is this a derivative of PAVE?
I tried to look. It isn't. It's not associated to PAVE. It's a different organization. This is funded by the California Board of Legal Cannabis and Regulations. That's who's funding this, or who is representing this fight. Where the funding is coming from, I guess it's limited to the city that you live in. I know Modesto. I checked to see who was contributing to this to keep this open and running. And it's developers. It's real estate developers that are just trying to get that first jump on some of that prime real estate that's in Modesto. And our city councilmen, they're going to jump on it because they're looking at revenue. They're like, you're going to put so you're going to come in and put in supposedly, apartment complex, which we need badly here in Modesto, is, single and double, single and 2-bedroom apartments, affordable, which is never going to happen because they don't do that. They build these apartment complex, and the price margin is nowhere near what the average person in Modesto can afford. So I laugh. Granted, it's 1991, but my first 1-bedroom apartment in Modesto was $300 a month. That same apartment today is $1,100 to $1,200 a month.
Right.
So it's insane. It's insane.
I think mine was $300.
Microwave. Yeah, Timmy will recap that for you.
Yeah, so SOVAPE was an advocacy organization based in France, and they were working in conjunction with an organization called BVA to basically organize vape summits and try to spread the wealth of information and knowledge about vaping in order to help people get away from cigarettes and onto vaping. So they're a very influential advocacy public relations group in France, and they unfortunately had to close their doors because their biggest partner in the fight was BVA, and BVA is effectively controlled by the WHO, the World Health Organization, and they were regulated, and they were no longer allowed to work with companies who advocated for nicotine-based products. And so unfortunately they had to they were just sort of up against that, losing a primary partner and just trying to on their own sort of battle the misinformation and all that other stuff. So they basically got bullied out. So just real unfortunate set of circumstances all the way around. Yep. Hey, John, I noticed that you gave me another article, one that I think we've actually already touched on this one. This was kind of stuff that had to do with MDOs and things like that.
Yeah, I think we did. Yeah,
we touched on that. That was, I think, the most recent one of all. It was something today, October 9th, 2024. Briefs have been filed by the FDA and Triton Distribution in the FDA Supreme Court appeal of Triton's win in the Fifth Circuit. Additionally, multiple amicus curiae briefs have been filed by interested parties supporting both sides. All filings in the case docket can be seen on the Supreme Court website. The case will be heard in the court session that began this week, although no date for oral arguments has been set.
Yep.
Yeah, so that would be
it's just you can go back to, I'll actually mark that page and put it in the chat, but it's just a way to keep track of what's that Vaping 360 put together, just to kind of keep track of what's going on. Right. One article for all, I guess you want to call it that. One article. Yeah. So it just breaks down everything here. I'll just do this real quick. Bop, bop, bop. Bye. Yeah, see, it's just their way of keeping track of everything that's going on through Supreme Court to MDOs and all the challenges that are out there. Where you can go through that list of stuff, and each month or day they'll mark what's been going on. So it's a good way to kind of keep track of what's going on, and keep in touch with Mr. Jim McDonald. Mr. Jim McDonald. We need to get Jim back on the show, Tim.
Yes,
really do.
I agree.
I love his links. Yeah, big help.
It's a big baseball fan too. He's busy right now.
Sorry,
So I have a question. As far as California, if the Supreme Court comes back and says, "No, wait a second, FDA's done everything wrong. We're gonna relook at everything." So until then, and then I know this is a big hope for everybody, but what would happen to this law that California is just passed?
Yeah, I asked that question a couple weeks ago and I didn't get a real answer to it, but then I kind of did a little digging. The states can still say no. The states can still say no. The only power that the feds would have is say to them, like, if you don't implement this, we will take funding away from A, B, C, and D. And that forces the states to comply with federal policy. So that's from what I understood could happen. But each state could still say, hey, you know what? Each town can decide too as well, because they don't have to implement anything that the feds considered, should be, nationwide. They can still say, hey, you know what? We're going to stick with our guns and keep our policies that we have. But from what I understand, the FDA can force their hand and just basically tell them, hey, do you want your funding for A, B, and C, and D? If you don't let these new laws go through, that we can pull funding from other programs. So, but the feds aren't going to do that. Not for vaping. Right. That's not. Yeah. And even if we pressure the vape industry, even if the vape industry pressures the FDA and the feds to force states to do that, they can still, like your state can say, from what I understand, your state can say, okay, vaping is back, but your town can decide to not have a single vape shop there and just ban every single vape shop. So forcing you out to go somewhere else to get your stuff. So yeah, it's the way that our system is set here in the United States. I think it's fair because that's the way it should be. Not every state should comply with each other. Not everything situation that happens here in California applies to what's happening in Georgia. Yeah. Georgia may be able to handle whatever laws that are through there, but California can't. So I think it's a fair way of doing things. Well, shit, I hate to say the word, but that's the abortion fight. It's just, wanting the states to decide, not the federal government to decide, letting the states decide whether abortion's okay in California or not. So same thing applies with the vaping, but again,
you have an official, invite to come live in Florida.
Yeah. I mean, it's just, if I can just get one of my kids to move, just one. I can't go by myself. I know I have a great personality. I'll make new friends, but they're not my grandkids. They're not my kids.
Right,
so
right.
If I get one, the one to say, hey, look, I even joked about it last night at work with one of my coworkers who's pretty much fed up with California as well. I said, look, dude, I sell all my shit. You sell all your shit. I said, we could buy a couple 100 acres in Montana. We could buy a couple 100 acres in fucking Texas. We can enjoy life and not have to bother with any. We could put up a big fence 100 acres away, build a couple. I go, we don't even have to be next to each other. You could be on one end of the 100 acres. I could be on the other end of the 100 acres. And we just go off the grid, build a complete house with, I don't need your electricity. I'll put up solar panels. I'll live this way. I'll have a septic tank. I'll have my own fucking water source. Yeah, no, I would love that. I would love that
You're
so much.
talking like something I would do and have done. We've done that a lot. So yeah.
I mean, even this is how bad it's gotten. I think even like Google in the house and Alexa and my Series are all listening to me. Like yesterday, I did get one yesterday too, but I got a couple the other last week. I got, if you move to Italy, these cities will pay you to come live here and give you work. I'm like, oh my God, even Italy wants me, you know? I laugh because I'm mad at myself because about 10, 15, just after my divorce, so like 20 years ago, a friend of mine said, hey, on the West Coast side of Canada, I can't remember the name of the city, was giving away 10 acres. They were like, come, we'll give you 10 acres and a job, because they needed people to move into this part of Canada. And I was like, I almost did it. I was like, this, you know, but then I was like, I started reading it, and at the very bottom in very small print, I have to pretty much rip up my U.S. passport. I'm no longer a U.S. citizen. Wow. Yeah. So it was just like, oh, I don't know if I could do that. You know, I knew how hard my parents worked to get that thing. Right. And I'm like, do I want to rip up my passport and declare myself a Canadian? Right. Nothing's wrong with Canada. Nothing wrong with Canada. But it's just one piece of paper that I think is important for me, is that I am a U.S. citizen. I know it doesn't mean much to a lot of people, but to us Americans, it does to me, man.
Right.
Very much true. Very much true.
Right.
But yeah, there's a lot of places that are looking for people to work. I mean, all throughout the world. And it's just like, you know, some of these places, you start looking into them, and unfortunately, the ones that were in Italy that were looking for people to come move, there's a shortage of men in those places. And they're so it's just like they need men to come and take these jobs that need to be filled. And it's just like, hey, we'll give you $56,000, a house, a job. I'm like, oh man, again, probably the same thing. Got to rip up that U.S. passport. Hey, if you do rip up your U.S. passport, this is a question maybe you guys know. Do I still qualify for my Social Security when I turn 62?
No.
You don't? No. If you tear up that passport, you lose. So. Oh, see, I worked for that. No, I know it's not.
You're going to get it.
You won't get it. Yeah. You ain't gonna get it. You ain't gonna get it. I can see them holding it up like, you ain't getting it. No, it's right here.
No. Yeah, well, that's the one.
I've never considered ripping up my passport though.
Nah, no, never.
You're talking about your citizenship papers though, right?
Yeah, your citizen. You have to declare yourself a citizen of Canada.
Right.
Yeah. So, which means you have to declare yourself not a U.S. citizen any longer. And once you do that, you're pretty much done. So I know they'll take it back. Maybe.
I don't know. Nowadays, I don't know. You know.
Hey, stay there. Hey, this way I get to come back as an immigrant, right? I get to come back as an immigrant. Get like $4,000 on food stamps and just live it up.
Yeah, really. Yeah.
Clothes and a home. And
you're the whitest immigrant I've ever seen in my life.
they let everybody in, though.
Don't let me in. Don't let me back. They're like, how about what do you got, Timmy?
I got a few. I got a couple other ones. I thought this one was kind of interesting. Just shuffling through. Yeah. So let me present.
You present that thing. You show that thing off.
I mean, this may not come as anything shocking to anybody here on the show watching at this point. Let's share this one. Sure. The U.S. remains obsessed with teen vaping despite data indicating that this is no issue.
No, zero.
All right. So, despite the data indicating that vaping is leading to decreased smoking rates and that vaping rates themselves are on a downward trend, many U.S. policymakers remain obsessed with setting restrictions on vaping products. This was written pretty recently, as little as 3 days ago. The U.S., or just call them the FDA, has recently fined 2 brick and mortar and 9 online retailers for selling unauthorized tobacco products despite previous warnings. Revealed Tobacco Reporter. Each retailer faces $20,678 penalty for failing to comply. So far, the FDA has filed complaints against 70 manufacturers and 160 retailers for similar violations, mostly in the name of preventing teen vaping, while only approving 34 vape products from the thousands which sent the required PMTAs. Meanwhile, several U.S. states are actively pursuing vape restrictions, particularly targeting flavored products. As of 2024, states like your state, John, California, Massachusetts, and New York have implemented comprehensive bans on flavored vapes with the aim of curbing youth vaping. Passed in 2020, California's ban prohibits the sale of most flavored tobacco products, including e-cigarettes, and data has shown that this ban has been counterproductive. Matter of fact, we can go all the way back to the article that was written about San Francisco, whether or not the strict prevention of vapes were having a positive effect on kids and whether or not they were taking up smoking and things like that. And they found that it actually contributed to an increase in smoking rates. Massachusetts enacted a similar ban in 2019, which again only led to a burgeoning black market of the products. Other states such as New Jersey and Rhode Island have also restricted flavored vapes, while states like Colorado and Washington are considering such measures. Last year, Oregon proposed House Bill 3090, which aimed to eliminate the sale of flavored nicotine products, including menthol cigarettes and flavored vapes. While in September 2024, the Georgia House Committee concluded its third and final meeting on the youth vaping epidemic, discussing the potential creation of a statewide vape registry. This would be my state. Earlier in the year, House Bill 1260, which aimed to establish a registry of vape products approved or under review by the FDA, stalled before reaching the Senate. The committee, formed in March 2024, explored concerns over unregulated disposable flavored vapes, especially those imported from China, and their alleged link to organized crime and drug trafficking. Good Lord.
Dun, 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 dun.
Well, I didn't see any Yakuza tribe members hanging out in the vape shop when I went in to go buy myself. Oh, by the way, I bought some new disposable vape. Hold on one second here. I will share with the crowd. Hold on.
Where'd he go? Oh, I looked down at my phone for a second. I didn't see him anymore.
All right.
So I thought you pulled a magic trick. I looked down at my phone and I looked back up, Tim, and you were gone. I go, fuck, Tim did magic.
No, I said, hold on. So being that we're headed to the beach here, I had to stock up for the trip, right? Because the ones I have now are kind of like on their last legs. And don't think I bought this for the gimmick element of it. Actually, they were just a really good price at the time I saw them. They're 30K. They're 30K. I'll try to cover up anything that might indicate otherwise. But they were a good price online, and I didn't buy them because of the gimmick. But I don't know if you guys can see that? See what it says? Feed sync.
Oh yeah.
So it Bluetooths to your phone.
Yeah.
So you got the little apps and stuff. I guess what it does, it opens it on your phone. Anyway, but I didn't buy it because of the gimmick, but I'm interested to see what exactly happens. Anyway.
Now, when you're going to the beach, Destin has a vape-free, smoke-free beaches.
Okay.
So just beware. If you see a policeman, don't vape right there.
No, I will. I've become quite skilled at stealth vaping. And so I will make sure I have my head on a swivel. I got a feeling the beaches are just going to probably be a little bit packed.
I got a feeling.
I don't know.
Yeah, there's going to be people looking for a little respite for a few days because they may not be able to get back home anytime soon.
Right.
Sorry, Tim. I can't hear that. I got a feeling and not break into that song. It's just a problem I have. I swear to God.
Anyway,
every time someone says I got a feeling, I break right into that song. I got a feeling.
Isn't that really the irony in it all, Microwave, when you think about it? I mean, there's such a fervor to ban flavors when these people enjoy flavors across a spectrum of products, whether it's the sodas they put in their refrigerator, whether it's the ice cream that they buy, whether it's the frozen dinners that they buy, the spices they decide to get on the spice aisle. It's almost, it makes you kind of shake your head like, like you just can't believe that this is their effort, really. I mean, it's about regulating and limiting people from getting access to those products, whether or not those products might, in your opinion, seem attractive to a younger crowd. But we say it a million times, how can you discount the idea that flavored alcohols would not be attractive to a younger generation? I mean, look, I want people to have access to things that I think are kind of dumb to regulate, to the nth degree. But I mean, for example, the legalization of THC products, and the Delta products and all that stuff. I mean, you don't see vape companies coming out with gummy bears that contain e-liquid. Do you know what I mean? I mean, we're just talking about a bottle of liquid that might be flavored, but I mean, if you really want to throw some scrutiny at it, you want to legalize THC products, but there's very little scrutiny over the form factor by which those products are available to people. Like, don't you think for a hot second that a kid would be like, "Ooh, gummy worms that get me messed up? Oh, I'm definitely trying those." Do you know what I mean? Like, they're not going to be shy about that. So it's completely asinine that this is where we are. We're talking about taking something away from adults who know what they're doing in the first place. And you're damn right they're going to enjoy it if they have flavors added to the matrix, right? Because that helps us disassociate from the thing we were doing for years and decades and endless time. And people kept telling us, "Oh, you smell like an ashtray. Oh, your clothes smell horrible. Your car stinks." And I recognize that. I mean, I'm not critical of people who choose to smoke. That's your choice. I'm not going to sit here and slander you for it, much unlike the hardcore smokers who like to come after us, and tell us how horrible we are for what's going to happen to our bodies by vaping. But with that said, I mean, I'm not going to slander somebody over something like that. But at the same time, it's like we want to get away from that. So we found something that worked for us, and now we have to fight this uphill battle that just kind of boggles the mind, right?
Boggles.
So
go ahead.
No, go ahead, Michelle.
I was going to say what boggles my mind is these high caffeine drinks and the flavors that they have and the way that they're looked, with these unicorns and all these weird, beautiful artwork, in the cans, but they're sold right next to the sodas, you know, and those are fine. Those are fine for kids. Just, you see kids with them all the time. If I had one, because I've never had one, I mean, I don't drink them. It would not be good for me.
No, hey, I've told this story. When I was picking up my grandson Aiden in sixth grade, well, across the street, or fifth grade, across the street is sixth, seventh, and eighth. They get out before he does. So they walk down to the store, and I would always stop at the store to grab him some snacks and stuff when I pick him up. And all these kids are in line. So this is sixth, seventh, and eighth graders. And each one of them had 2 or 3 rock stars or mountain or monsters in their hands, or triple shot espressos from Starbucks bottles. And I'm thinking to myself, why are these kids allowed to buy this?
Right.
Why are kids allowed to buy 2 rock stars? Oh, the 2 for $4. Might as well get 2 of them.
Even one. There ought to be an age gate on them, know?
There supposedly is, Michelle, but none of the stores, none of the stores are implemented. You're supposed to be 18 to buy a rock star or a energy drink. Yeah, you're supposed to be 18.
I see little kids with them all the time, though.
All the time. I'm not kidding you. When I was, this is a while ago because my son is 31 years old now, but when he was playing soccer and I was coaching soccer, I had parents and at that he was 10, 12 years old. I had parents who would give their kids a Red Bull before they started playing a game. I'd go, he's 12. He doesn't need a Red Bull. He should have more energy in that little body of his than 7 of us.
Right.
You know, it's crazy.
Does anybody know if Panera got rid of
They did
supercharged caffeine drinks?
They did get rid of that drink. Yeah.
Yeah.
Killed the company.
Well, no, just Microwave saying they implemented a plus 14-year age restriction for caffeinated energy drinks. Manufacturers lower their caffeine content to bypass that restriction. Yep. So they just kind of come in under the cap, and then they can still put their product out there. Which does what, right? It causes people to buy more.
Yeah.
Because the caffeine that was in it before that held them over for a little bit longer. Now they got to do a little bit more. Let me go back to the article where I was. Now I got to figure out which.
It's only got 63 grams of sugar in it. That's all.
So other recurring themes which are often brought up when policymakers consider vape restrictions are the supposed danger of synthetic nicotine and THC vapes, often discussed interchangeably with nicotine products. In fact, despite the meeting of the Georgia House Committee being about nicotine vaping products, THC vapes were a significant focus, though these are not regulated by the FDA. The committee also addressed concerns on fentanyl-laced vapes, although there is no concrete evidence. They still talk about this? There's no concrete evidence supporting this fear, as no hospitalizations and or deaths among teenagers have been confirmed to be caused by fentanyl in vapes. I guess I can speak for Georgia in the sense that there's plenty of places that sell the Delta products. Yeah. Like you can get that pretty much anywhere you want to. I mean, it's more prevalent in parts of the city and stuff like that. But you don't really see too much hubbub about that. It's pretty much left alone. Yeah. But I have to say, knock on wood, thank goodness, we've been pretty much untouched thus far with regard to regulation. Although I have noticed that when, since I've had to actually go into a couple vape shops to get some things at times, there's far less stuff on the shelf anymore.
Yeah.
And most of it is disposables anyway.
Yeah. Sad day.
Says there is no vaping epidemic. Both smoking and vaping are on the decline. I always want to say the New York. The National Youth Tobacco Survey indicated that the number of middle and high school students who vaped in the past 30 days, that's including people who did it just once, dropped from 2.13 million in 2023 down to 1.63 million, 5.9% in 2024. I mean, that's not a big chunk of the population if you spread that out across the United States. I mean, what are we, 300 and something million here in the U.S.?
The kids are smarter than the adults writing the laws.
Yes, they are.
That's true. Meanwhile, the 2023 Indiana Youth Risk Behavior Survey, just released by the Indiana Department of Health, shows positive trends in youth tobacco and vaping habits. Combustible cigarette use among high school students has reached historic lows, while vaping also continues to decline. In 2023, 6.1% of high school students reported using e-cigarettes in the past 30 days, marking a almost 50% increase from 2021, but still a significant 50% drop since 2015 and just over 65% from 2011. I just think, for me, my opinion on a lot of this is that the fad is over. In a lot of ways, I think the kids had their run with it. It was cute and fun, and now they're, having a different outlook on it. It's just not as cool as it used to be. It's too hard, to try to get them anymore. Like, let's just find the next thing that's, a little bit more exciting than that. So I think a lot of this has to do with just sort of the downturn in a trend that kind of happened over a period of time. Despite these declines in youth smoking and vaping, There has been a rise in adult e-cigarette use in Indiana. Well, good for the adults. In 2023, 8.5% of adults age 18 or older reported using e-cigarettes, up from 8.1 in 2022. It's not that much, and an 80.9% increase since 2016. Meanwhile, adult smoking rates dropped 31.3%. Well, you know what? I would really love to see if they can do a basic blanket study on the health trends in these people. You know what I mean? Like it would be great. I mean, I know you know, HIPAA laws and all that, but it would be really kind of interesting to see, you know, if since smoking has decreased and vaping has increased, it would be nice to see if we couldn't see some kind of a chart that, you know, indicated
Less cancer.
biomarker factors that, you know, it's like, you know, these people are, you know, effectively, you know, not cured of COPD, but their symptoms and asthma and things of those nature, you know, lung health and things like that. Just general biomarkers to see exactly what those test results garner. This, of course, means that a lot of adult smokers are switching to the proven safer alternatives, a very positive stride for public health. Moreover, on a national level in 2024, 500,000 fewer U.S. youth reported using e-cigarettes compared to 2023, according to data from the National Youth Tobacco Survey released by our favorite people, the FDA and CDC, conducted between January and May of 2024. The survey indicated that the number of middle and high school students who vaped in the past 30 days dropped from 2.13 million in 2023 to 1.63 million. That's redundant. Didn't we already read that? The decline was mostly driven by high school students, while middle school usage remains stable. E-cigarette use among youth is now roughly 1/3 of its 2019 peak, when over 5 million reported use. Well, I mean, it's, you know, it's the same. It's the story that we're hearing all across the board. But it just kind of highlights what the anti-advocates and the organizations and the legislators who are trying to ban it, what their target is anyway. I mean, you can't. I mean, you can cry wolf all you want, but I mean, clearly there's something bigger at stake here. It's not just about the kids. Because if they would just recognize the true numbers, they would see that it's not about the kids anymore. Now it's about just trying to what do they call that? Hobble the adults.
Yeah, well, this guy wants zero. He wants zero.
Right.
He's not going to be happy until he sees zero. He's going to hunt down the very last kid. That's what he's going to hunt down the very last kid that's still vaping in the world and somehow try to get him to quit so that way he can officially have a zero.
Well, and that, Microwave, you bring up another good point right there too, is the fact that, you know, that, like you say, like the general public must know that this wasn't invented yesterday. I mean, it's been around for 2 decades.
Yep.
And you know, if you really, if they actually did a numbers study, they're still going to find to date that after 20 years of people vaping, that they don't have one death on their hands. They don't have one case of popcorn lung on their hands. You know, in fact, they would find that, you know, people are probably a lot better off because they found vaping than to kind of just, you know, but that's the problem with the general public, right? Like who the heck is going to spend their time doing research on vaping when they really don't give a shit about it in the first place? Like they're just hearing the talking heads. They're like, well, if they say they're bad, they must be bad. So sure, I support, you know, eradicating vaping. And oh gosh, I don't want the kids vaping either. God, they're developing brains and they're the future of our they're our future. You know, I don't want the one you have to watch out for is the kids who are gone hog wild on the galaxy gas. Those are the ones you got to watch out for.
Baby.
You know, when I was a kid, I don't know if it was a nationwide
A few
thing or
years
not.
ago, right?
Thank you.
You're welcome. Sure.
But we used to take Midol, and we take Midol and have a couple of sodas and fly all over class, you know. So I don't know if anybody else did that or not, but
Oh
I mean,
yeah,
it has.
I never did the Midol thing.
No?
Never did that. No,
It
no,
was easily to get, you know.
Yeah.
So
we were the Whippet crowd.
oh, okay.
We were the Whippet crowd, right? So I had to teach my wife about Whippets the other day. I was like, God, I'm like, because we have whipped cream in the refrigerator, in the can,
the
and
Huffers.
I was like, yeah, I was like, yeah, back in the day, we used to inhale the nitrous oxide out of the cans. But
now, here's my thing. I don't know about you guys, but maybe it's just California. I didn't have any trouble finding the real shit, and I didn't have to try any huffing. I didn't have to try any pharmaceutical drugs or things that were sold at this. I wanted weed. There was weed. I wanted. I won't say the A word, but it was there. Shrooms, whatever I wanted was there. So I never understood why. When I was a teenager, seeing people do, huffing, like that stuff didn't start until the 90s, to be honest. I don't remember people huffing until the 90s. And I'm like, why? There's plenty of drugs out there.
Yeah, that one didn't make any sense to me. Well, it's because, John, if you think about it, it's the same story as like why were our friends stupidly drinking entire bottles of NyQuil just to get a buzz and stuff like that. It's like because it was easy, it was over the counter. No one if I'm just running in to buy a bottle of NyQuil, you go, he must feel sick.
Yeah. Are you getting that for your mom? Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, my mom's got cramps. I got to get some.
Hey, back in the day, Tim and I and Michelle used to just walk to the store and say, "Yeah, I'm buying cigarettes from my mom. I'm buying them from my grandfather.
No problem.
No problem. Hand them the money, get your cigarettes, and go, man."
But you saw where that led to. Then now basically you have to show ID to buy a can of spray paint anymore.
And this happened. I was 45, so I pretty much hasn't changed too much. But I was on vacation with my cousin. We went to Monterey, and we had a good time. We're coming back. I was out of cigarettes. This happened more than 10, 15 years ago. And coming back, and I go, "Hey, man, I need a cigarette. You got to pull over. It's AM, PM." So I pull over. I get out. I go stand in line, which was a long line. I get to the counter, and the kid's maybe fucking 20 years old, right? So I'm like, "Hey, box of Camel filters, please." He goes, "Can I see some ID?" And I've had gray beard, I have gray hair, everything. I'm like, "Are you serious? You're asking me?" I said, "I have kids older than you." He goes, "I still need ID. I can't sell you a pack of cigarettes." I'm like, "Are you freaking serious?" I had to go back to my car and get now that's a good thing. I'm going to say that's a good thing, but I don't know. You're telling me I don't look older than 35 years old to you, man? I go, my beard is fully gray.
It was probably his boss telling him, "I don't care how old they look,
Yeah. Well, I don't know. All right. What else? We got nothing else. We got 4 minutes. What do you guys want to throw out there? Any excitement? Any exciting stuff? Michelle, be careful. I don't know if that thing can just tomorrow just decide to swing your way, but be careful.
It'll be fine. It always swings towards it'll grab Florida and go up. It'll grab the coast because it's so close now. It's not gonna go any except towards make a right turn for.
Yeah, and everybody out there, Phillip Sardo, Nick,
Apathy Miller, just in case you guys know Apathy, Josh Miller, he's the one who spent months in the hospital, and he's doing much better, and he's actually in Mississippi. So he was pretty much right there where the cone was going to go, and he's fine. So
he's
if
fine.
anybody
That's
knows
good.
him and was
I don't know if Peggy's in that area, so be careful.
Peggy is up north of Orlando, a little bit to the east, and she's going to get it, but she's not going to get the full force of it.
Yeah.
It'll go slightly south of her.
Tim, I didn't get those kids either. But the weirdest thing, I'll tell you, the weirdest thing I saw in high school was someone actually taking whiteout and putting it on his desk and then chopping it, drying it, and then chopping it up and snorting it. And I'm like, dude, seriously?
I've seen
seriously?
that.
You got a problem, bud. Yeah. You got a problem.
Well, it wasn't like it wasn't an epidemic of a bunch of kids just eating Elmer's glue paste. It was just like,
Yeah.
people challenged you to do it.
Yeah.
The one thing that I do remember eating, now looking back on it, I can't believe I was that weird. But back in the day, I worked in distribution in a company I worked for before, and they, the pill span, like the styrofoam stuff that you put in boxes and you pack with it.
Oh yeah.
Right.
They like in an attempt to create a more renewable pill span source, they were using food materials to make this,
eat it.
to make it. Yeah. So and so we would get in these huge bags of it, and you'd pour it into the big pill span, dispensers. And I swear it smelled like we were working in a honeycomb cereal factory. Yeah. And then, so like, of course, what do you think that led to? Like, well, if it smells like honeycomb, it probably got to taste like honeycomb. So like you put it in your mouth and the crap would just melt. So we got into this habit of like, we get into busy times and we get some new kid in the building. And the kid was like, he didn't know that, we kind of were a little bit, crazy anyway. And so this new kid would be working on the line trying to pack up his boxes, and we're like, come on, rookie, you got to step it up. And we grab like a big handful of the pill span and like just shove it in our mouth and like chew it up. I'm sure he probably thought what the hell did I just walk into? You got a bunch of psychos in here eating pill span. Yeah, exactly. The foam peanuts microwave.
Peanuts, yeah.
They were just, they look more like tater tots. That's what they look like. It was like extra long tater tots, and they kind of had this brownish color to them. And they were just trying to use a renewable source because you get all that foam in the landfills and stuff, and it doesn't break down. So they were trying to come up with something that was far more biodegradable. And so they started using like recycled food materials in these things. And so it was like you put it in your mouth and it would just melt away. It was weird. We were weird.
It was weird. Yeah. Well, that is it for us. Everybody be safe in Florida. You're in our prayers. Hopefully everything goes well. It just I don't know, turns into a category 1. Is that good? Was that a good number?
Yeah.
Yes.
It's not bad. I think
I don't know if it is
3.
Yeah, all right.
As of right now.
Yeah, so be safe.
3 is nothing to scoff at, though.
No. Yeah.
No, but it's better than the 5 that they were saying.
Yeah. So. I didn't know if it was like DEFCON 1, 2, 3, or 4, or 5, like that. So
they're saying it's going to go all the way through the state and remain a hurricane all the way into the Atlantic. So All
right. Hey, and we're going to test out the technology. So it's supposed to play the outro when I hit end stream. So let's keep our fingers crossed and don't look stupid. Everybody look at the camera and say goodbye to everybody. And, thank you, everybody in chat. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. All right. We'll see you next week. All right. Bye.
Yeah. Let's see if this works. Here we go.